Hi everybody, Michelle McClunan here, astrologer and life coach, and I'm bringing you an update for the full moon, which is happening on the 11th or 12th of August. If you're in South Africa, it's happening in the very, very early hours of the morning of the 12th. It's a super moon, which means that it's more powerful as it's closer to the earth and it's bigger and brighter. And as usual, full moons tend to illuminate whatever they are shining on. So I'm going to try and unpack it for you and just give you a sense of the energy, not only at the full moon, but leading up to it and afterwards for a couple of weeks. So full moon is always a time to release, and it's always a time to see things more clearly. That can mean amplified emotions. It can mean amplified issues. It can mean amplified insights as well. And this is a full moon that encompasses all of that. So the full moon is in the sign of Aquarius. It's opposite the sign of Leo, which is where the sun is. And this one is particularly potent. The moon is actually in a very, very close alignment to Saturn. Saturn always brings with it quite a lot of energy on its own. So if we look at the moon as an energy, the moon is our feelings and our emotions, which, as I said, at full moon can get amplified. Saturn sitting right next to it can feel quite shadowy, can feel, for some people, a little bit dark, for some people, a little bit scary. It can bring fears up to the surface, insecurities, old triggers and that kind of thing. And the moon in Aquarius is really a kind of a breaking through energy. It's really, the energy of Aquarius is marching to the beat of your own drum, finding personal freedom. But this kind of energy that's around at the moment, because all of these things are caught up in what we call a grand cross in astrology, it's a little bit like a pressure cooker. That's what the energy is like. That's what I'm feeling. It feels a little bit uncomfortable, depending on where you're at, what you're processing, what it's actually activating in your chart, which you can see if you've had your chart done. You can see the areas that it's activating, and you can understand at a deeper level what its purpose is, because none of this is designed to send us into suffering for no reason. If you are feeling heavy and you might be feeling melancholy, you might be rehashing the past, looking at your faults, looking at your flaws, seeing yourself as a failure. Any of those themes could be coming up. It's to really hold a space for it, to see what it's showing you. So it's a time, this full moon is a time when triggers might happen. Remember, it's like a pressure cooker. What's come up for me is, it's almost like the seed. It's something is germinating. So if you look at a seed in nature, the seed is planted in soil. The soil nourishes and nurtures that seed. It needs a lot of sunlight. It needs water. It needs its own internal nourishment in order to actually start to develop the strength it needs to actually start to germinate into a plant. At some point in that process, the seed has to rupture in order for a root to actually go down into the soil. That root then spreads into the ground and starts to actually anchor that little seed. It then starts to grow upward as the roots start to strengthen it, and then it bursts out. So in the process of birth, there is also a process of death. There is the process of something collapsing, something breaking open, something rupturing, in order for new growth to actually happen. And this is what we're experiencing as a collective on our planet, because we're going through an evolutionary shift in consciousness. So it's not just about this life, it's about past lives, it's about everything that we've carried from the past into this life, and we have chosen to be here, as hectic and crazy as that may sound. So I found a beautiful quote which really says it to me, and that's what sort of got me going on this theme of the seed. For a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it could look like complete destruction. That's by Cynthia Ocelli. And I think we tend to see the difficult parts, the ruptures, the darkness that seed will actually have to go through as bad. We might see the shadow as a bad thing. We might see being triggered as a bad thing. But if we can look at it in the face with gentleness and love and open to a place of even more depth, even more love, and we can open to the process of that seed breaking open so that new growth can come of it, then there's not as much struggle. If we resist it and we don't want to go underneath the surface and we don't want to look and we don't want to look at our challenges and our triggers, then we're not going to actually germinate into something new. So this is a process of death and rebirth. And that's also shown in this astrology with Venus, which is the planet of love. It's opposite Pluto, which is the planet of transformation. And so it's asking us to actually hold a space for transformation. And that can be uncomfortable. It's the unknown. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what the new is going to be. So there's a tendency to hold on to the old. There's a lot of fixed energy at the moment, which is holding energy, it can be resistant energy. It can also be the ability to sustain and to become more resilient. So I kind of see this as a time where we are becoming more resilient. We are sending those roots down into the soil, even though we might not see anything on the surface of the earth. The little plant might not have arisen yet, but there's a lot going on underneath the surface. There's a lot of releasing, letting go, seeing, noticing, becoming aware of, holding space for. So this is a biggie. It's very connected with the major theme that's been around for a couple of years now, Saturn versus Uranus, the old versus the new, control versus freedom, fear versus freedom, standing up for your rights or being consumed by laws and regulations. It's very similar to that theme, but it's very personalized now. And I feel that this is a time when we're being called on to be very honest with ourselves. If we need time to just be, to feel those difficult feelings, maybe this is time to just feel them and to know that something else is actually being born underneath the surface. To acknowledge all parts of ourselves, not to exile any parts of ourselves, not to exile the wounded parts of ourselves, the pain body parts of ourselves, those parts of ourselves that aren't necessarily pretty and sweet. It's to actually encompass all of them and to integrate all of them. That's alchemy. Alchemy is looking into the darkness. And in that moment, in that space of actually being able to be in that place without trying to escape it, that's where we transmute. That's where we shift. That's where we transform. And if we aren't able to do that and we keep on exiling it, or we keep on pushing it away, we're actually stunting our own growth. That's how I feel. It's just my perception. When I looked and tuned into today's forecast and video, I pulled a card because it's full moon and I pull cards on full moon. And out of the Divine Feminine pack, doesn't matter if you're male, just means that it's connecting with the Divine Feminine and balancing the energy, because this is a time where we're balancing both energies. We're balancing the energy of being underneath that soil and the growing up, the breaking out of that shell, of that soil. And I picked a card, actually it fell out the pack, called Sarada Devi, and she was known as the Divine Mother. And her message is, unconditional love exists within me. The presence of love is the absence of judgment. So she was a woman who was born in Jayrambati in India in 1853 to poor Brahmin parents. As a little girl, she worshipped a clay figurine of the goddess Kali, And Kali represents that transformation and the death, so that a new birth can be reborn. She meditated on it and began to have visions. At the age of 5, she was betrothed to the priest of a temple, the Kali temple, a beloved mystic named Ramakrishna. 10 years later, she joined him at the temple and they began their lifelong spiritual marriage together. So Radha's husband, Ramakrishna, performed a ritual on her, Shadasha Puja, which meant that she was positioned in the seat of the goddess Kali and was addressed as Shri Ma, or Holy Mother. She was considered to be Ramakrishna's first disciple. They both became notable mystics with large international followings. She helped form the monastic order for the devotees of Ramakrishna after he passed, and she became very beloved and paved the way for future generations of women to enter spiritual life. She was known for treating all of her disciples as her children. Many of her devotees relate that she initiated them in a dream. That sort of says to me as well, is she accepted and treated all her disciples as her children. She didn't exile any of them. She didn't push any of them away. So when the soul selects this card, it says here that Sarada Devi loved all her disciples unconditionally and equally. In her teachings, she emphasized that there's no such thing as a stranger. She encouraged her devotees to understand that everyone we meet is actually a part of us and is connected to us. And you can say that to each part of yourself that you meet as well. That if we want to experience true peace, we need to own the fault and judgment that we project onto others. We need to see our own faults and forgive them with love. But in order to do that, in order to forgive them, we need to see them. And that's what this process is. It's showing us where our fears are, where those unresolved and unintegrated parts of us are, so that we can actually forgive them, let them go with love. That's how I see it. And she's confirming this. So Radha Devi whispers gently to us, "No one is a stranger, my child. This whole world is your own. So if something keeps showing up in the people we meet, in the relationships we are cultivating with others and ourselves," so Radha asks us to meet them from within us, meaning the aspects of the other person that seem to be causing us pain or frustration or just plain aversion. These same aspects exist within us. So there's a lot of darkness on our planet at the moment. There's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of war, there's a lot of greed. Where have we got that inside ourselves? What part of us is unintegrated if we're judging that? Unless we are willing to really meet with these aspects within us, the universe will keep presenting them to us. It's not to pee us off, it's to free us. It's out of a deep love for us to fully heal, which healing means to become whole, which means to integrate all the parts of ourselves, to not separate them. The goal here is for us to love ourselves fiercely from within, without judgment or shame, for where we are in the moment. The goal is to let us mother ourselves with unconditional love. That's the only love that will quiet those harsh, critical voices within us. Doesn't help to beat yourself up. So you can stop wasting your time mired in judgment of others or ourselves and get on with being the perfectly imperfect being that we are. The core of us is pure love, and we are having a human experience. And this process that we're experiencing is to acknowledge both and to step into our true power as alchemists. And we do that by seeing everything and acknowledging everything and not denying anything. So I hope that helps you. Her soul voice meditation is, what am I currently judging or criticizing about myself or others. So that's a strong message for a very strong full moon and for the next few weeks. So if you're feeling this, be real with yourself. Take the time that you need. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to take some time out, take some time out. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to express anger, express it. Hopefully not to someone else, but get it out. Allow those emotions to move through you because they're deep and they need to be acknowledged. They need to be acknowledged, otherwise they're projected. I hope that helps you. Just remember to be kind to yourself. John and I are running a retreat on the 23rd of September to the 27th. We're going to be exploring the masculine and the feminine and integrating them. This is a very, very, very powerful time for us on this planet. So all the work that you've done spiritually, personally, it's all leading to this. It's all for us to really strengthen those roots so that we can withstand all the change that's actually happening right now and will happen in the future. It's making us stronger. And so in order to do that, we've got to be present for all of it. We can't be exiling anything. We can't be denying anything. We can't be judging anything. So it's big, it's powerful, it's wonderful. It's a time where we can actually put those seedlings in and really create something that we want to create into the world. Something authentic, something real, something aligned with who we really are at our core. We're creating a new earth here. We're all navigating without a map. It's new. It's never been done before. So this is new. So it's to be patient and kind, knowing that it's new and the unknown. And almost embrace the unknown. To say, yeah, I don't know. I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm allowing. I'm appreciating. I'm accepting that this is where I am. If you like this, please subscribe to my channel below. Just click the little button and the notification button as well. And if you'd like to join us on our retreat, go to journeysofawakening.com. And we've got some beautiful specials from the Edge, which is where we have the retreat in Hogsback. Hogsback is a very, very, very powerful place, which is why we spend 10 or 12 hours in the car to get there. We could have a retreat anywhere, but we choose that because it has an incredible power of transformation. It helps one to alchemize and to integrate. It really does. So shifts happen in Hogsback much quicker than anywhere else John and I both find. So have a look at our website. It's up now and the link is below. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourself. Love yourself even deeper. Big loves.